Okay, let's start. So first of all, thank you for responding our interview request.
Of course.
So I prepared two types of questions. The first category is general questions, and the second category is technical questions. So let's start with the first questions.
Sure, let's do it.
Got it. So can you please tell us about yourself and what you do in your team?
Okay, so my name is Jae Kwon. I'm a programmer originally, and I've been programming for about 12 years in the general Silicon Valley industry. I started off working for Amazon, creating web services, and then at one point created a very popular iPhone app for finding restaurants and businesses called Yelp. And then got the startup bug and decided I wanted to create something interesting. So I spent many years trying to figure out what kind of industry I wanted to work in, and found that the blockchain space was the most interesting for the potential that it offered. So I created this project called Tendermint, which is originally created to replace proof of work as the consensus algorithm for blockchains. And it turned into a company, and we decided to launch or create the software for a public blockchain called Cosmos, intended to solve the scalability problem and the proof of stake problem and various other hard problems. So now I do programming and various other things for the Tendermint company and the Cosmos project.
Got it. Thank you. So could you talk a little bit about your projects and what kind of issues in blockchain space are you trying to solve? And would you explain why it is important?
Of course, yeah. So I think the first thing is, let's start with proof of work, because that's how the project started. I think one of the major problems is that it's environmentally unfriendly to have proof of work. Of course, many people will argue that proof of work is okay because it's still more efficient than the industry that it's replacing. But when you try to extrapolate where blockchains want to go and all the use cases that it wants to enable, then it becomes very expensive, not only in terms of ROI for the miners who are securing the network, but also in terms of the impact to the environment. And so proof of stake, or at least the kind of proof of stake that we're creating, can be very secure, arguably more secure. It can be, or it is definitely much faster in terms of getting finality. And it also turns out that it's excellent in terms of providing scalability, because the same signing identity in something like Tendermint proof of stake can enable signing on many blockchains in parallel without sacrificing security. So it just happens to solve a lot of problems. Now Cosmos is it's a network of blockchains, and one of the first blockchains that we're launching is called the Cosmos Hub. It's not the only hub, but the function of a hub is it's a blockchain that is intended to connect to many other blockchains to enable token transfers among many of these blockchains. So it creates an interoperable and scalable token economy by allowing thousands of blockchains to be connected to each other. So the Cosmos Hub is solving many things as a first. It's proving that Tendermint proof of stake works with many signers and with a state-of-the-art consensus algorithm. It's enabling governance to solve many of the problems that will arise. So it's really a self-amending ledger. And it's also allowing, like I said, many blockchains to connect to each other to enable token interoperability. So it'll be, it's a vision. The vision is to create a scalable and interoperable blockchain economy by really solving the hardest problems that are preventing us from doing that today.
Got it. Thank you. So personally, I'm very interested in interoperability. So in terms of interoperability, could you give us some examples of applications that may be implemented on top of Cosmos?
Sure. So the whole idea with Cosmos interoperability is that every blockchain can solve its own problem. It can be any blockchain that it's solving a problem for. So for example, the Cosmos Hub doesn't care. It doesn't care what logic the connected sidechains have. It doesn't care about the exact state. All it knows is who is responsible for signing and how the validator set is mutating. And the Cosmos Hub keeps track of the total number of tokens that are in each sidechain, so to speak. And so it totally allows every connected chain to have its own logic, and it can be about gaming, about payments, it can be about content or communication. All of the interesting blockchain problems can be solved in an isolated zone and connected with all the other zones via the Cosmos Hub.
So let's jump into some more technical questions.
Okay.
So can you explain about Cosmos SDK for the developers? What can they do with your SDK? So when I started working on blockchains in, I guess 2013 was when I started looking at Bitcoin seriously, but 2014 I started decided that okay, here's how we can solve the proof of stake problem. I started looking at all the available software platforms, like what can I modify to turn into a proof of stake blockchain, but I didn't find anything available at the time. So we decided to create a software framework for blockchain creation, because what we saw at the time was people were creating new blockchains by forking Bitcoin. Or forking, monolithic software stacks. It was difficult to create a new blockchain. And then Ethereum came about, and so people could create blockchain dApps using implemented in Solidity. But it's still difficult to create a complex application of Solidity. It's a new language, and it's not a familiar language. So I think it's if you like the language Go, it's a great language for systems programming of this sort. It allows you to create a complex, full-fledged production application without any limitation. You can tweak any part of the blockchain, like not just a consensus algorithm if you want to modify Tendermint, but it's really good at modularity. So if you look at the modules that we've baked into the Cosmos SDK, there's staking, governance, fee distribution, and what we call a banking module to help with multi-assets. And after we launched a hub, we'll be focusing on finalizing the IBC module too, so you can just import that and you'll be able to connect with many other blockchains. So the SDK is kind of like Ruby on Rails was for Web 2.0. It's intended to be a framework that gets you from zero to blockchain like in a minute for a simple application, but also extends you, to any use case that you want to develop. So it's a good choice for a framework. And of course the Cosmos Hub itself is built on the SDK. So that's how we're building it. All right, thank you. So my next question is about also interoperability. So in order to interlock, certain blockchains should use Tendermint, or they have to be insured by the finality. So how can Cosmos interlock work with Ethereum even without finality? Or is it possible for zones to use different consensus algorithm rather than Tendermint?
Yeah, that's a really good question. So IBC, which is our inter-blockchain communication protocol, it's kind of like TCP/IP. The initial version that we're building is going to be between Tendermint blockchains. And so the reason why we're doing this is because Tendermint provides very fast finality for a large validator set or large signing set. So we think this is, in the future, going to be a very popular way to create blockchains that communicate with each other. But you don't have to use Tendermint. Soon after we launched the Cosmos Hub and IBC, I'm sure we will see adapters for other consensus algorithms that have fast finality. That, for example, like PBFT might be one, and there are others being developed by other groups. So as long as it has a short Merkle or short finality proof, like Tendermint does, then it should be easy to make it compatible. But for proof of work chains or legacy chains like Ethereum, well, I don't want to call it a legacy chain. It's still one of the most popular chains out there. But the proof of work might be legacy in the future, right? For proof of work chains, there is a way to make it compatible by an adapter layer. It's one design we have for Ethereum is called PEGI, and it involves witness signers that are running the full node of Ethereum, the proof of work, and then they are signing off on the blocks that they have seen. And so by committing those witness signatures onto the blockchain, you can come to consensus about what actually happened on the Ethereum blockchain. So that's how we get information from Ethereum to, say, the Cosmos Hub. And then it's pretty easy you just have to design a smart contract on Ethereum to be able to read any kind of packets that need to be released, any coins that need to be released on the smart contract side. So it's an adapter layer. We still call it a form of IBC, and it's a bit more difficult or a bit more work than the IBC that we're creating, but it's important, so we're going to focus on it soon afterwards. With Bitcoin, the story is a little different. It's a bit more difficult because Bitcoin is not only proof of work, but it's also UTXO based. So it requires a bit more ingenuity, and there are many ways to solve that problem. There are some groups that are tackling this problem to connect to the Cosmos network using like the Cosmos SDK. So we'll see about that. I think the first step is getting IBC and then getting the Ethereum peg out.
Got it. Is it possible for Cosmos embracing the private blockchains as well?
Yeah, absolutely. So the Cosmos Hub can connect to public chains. It can connect to other chains that are running, many chains that are running on the same validator set. But it can certainly connect to private and consortium chains too. So there's no limit to, it's a permissionless system. Any blockchain, whether private or consortium or public, can connect.
Got it. And the next question is, Cosmos looks somehow similar to Polkadot. So could you tell us more about the differences when compared to Polkadot in terms of scalability, interoperability, security, and so on?
Sure. So in terms of scalability, I think one of the major differences is that we're focused on creating a generic, an agnostic protocol that works with many sovereign chains, right? So not only would it work with other blockchains that are run by the same validator set as the Cosmos Hub, but it could work with validator sets in any that are completely independent. So you might have a blockchain that's running in Korea, that's centered in Korea, or a blockchain that's being run by any other country or any other set, or even Polkadot itself. So what we're really trying to do is create an internet of blockchains. We're not just trying to create a large system with the same security umbrella that we dictate. We want to help connect many chains that have their own governance systems and their own reasons for existing. So in terms of interoperability, the Polkadot is focused on, it's trying to, if I were to try to describe what Polkadot is doing, it's a very interesting project. It's trying to create it's almost like a large world computer, right? And so the relay chain of Polkadot is responsible for relaying messages from one shard, I think they call it a parachain, to another parachain. But I think it's a different kind of problem than the one that we want to tackle. With the Cosmos Hub, we want to focus on tokens initially. So even though IBC can be used for a lot more than just token transfers, because like TCP/IP, it's a generic communication protocol. We think that the token economy is the primary use case, so we want to address that. So, so the Cosmos Hub, unlike the relay chain, it's responsible for keeping track of the number of tokens on each connected chain, and it's also it has a governance system so that in case of any kind of failure, the Cosmos Hub stakeholders can vote on how to recover the system. So those are some of the major differences. Here's maybe something that kind of illustrates one major difference. Like, if you've heard of like secure enclaves or Intel's like Sawtooth project and so on, like blockchains that are running on different kinds of hardware systems like that can also interoperate with the Cosmos Hub, whereas Polkadot is trying to focus on creating putting all the responsibility of consensus onto the relay chain. So it's a technical difference that is probably pretty major and maybe difficult to understand at first, but we have different priorities in terms of design philosophies. Yeah.
Got it. Thank you for explaining. Next question is, how can Cosmos Hub guarantee the security or data integrity of the zone? So what happens if there is a double spending in the specific zone?
On a specific zone, yeah. So, okay. I think there are many cases where zones can fail. I mean, there's a double spending, which would imply, at least on a Tendermint blockchain, that more than 1/3 have tried to double spend, right? But there are other cases too, like maybe the chain halted, or maybe, I mean, it could halt, it might even do something wrong because of a software bug, right? So in these cases, like all these edge cases that can arise, I think it's important that there's a human element that helps resolve the situation. So the Cosmos Hub stakeholders are, they're not like regular token holders, like Ether holders. They're meant to be, you can think of them as, they're working all the time. It's their job to maintain the system and provide excellent service to the whole community, and that's why people would adopt the Cosmos Hub. And so through the governance system, we'll be able to recover in certain scenarios. And then it's an ongoing research topic as to how to address certain failure cases automatically. So there are many ways that we can introduce automation into recovery. One example might be if a zone fails, we can, if there's, for example, like a network halt because two groups have different ideas about how to move forward, it's possible to have a vote from the stakeholders of that chain over time to see which side has more votes, and then automatically decide to go one way. But not every chain is going to want to do that. Some chains might prefer to have some kind of jurisdiction or people that decide what to do. So we'll be researching and implementing many of these solutions for the Cosmos Hub going forward.
Got it. So Cosmos token name is Atom, right? So recently Cosmos announced that the other tokens, which is called Photon, will be introduced in the Cosmos system. So could you tell us more about the Photon tokens and what is the difference between Atom and Photon?
So the token is called Atom. That's the staking token. So like I said earlier, it's not like a token that most people are going to want to hold. It's kind of like Bitcoin mining equipment or ASICs, right? Like not everyone should have ASICs, even though they want to use the Bitcoin blockchain. So it can be used for paying transaction fees and paying people, but that's not its intent. And if you just hold Atom tokens, it may not be the best for you because it's designed to be inflationary. Because if you don't stake it and use it, then you'll lose out to inflation. Now, the Photon token is a proposal. So, after we launched a Cosmos Hub, we no longer have the ability to dictate what happens to the Cosmos Hub. Through governance, the Cosmos Hub will probably approve of at least one fee token that is intended to be used by non-stakeholders or people who just want a token for payments. And so we proposed, or we will propose, or someone will propose a proposal to do something like hard fork or hard spoon Ether into a proof of stake chain, and provide photons to all the Ether holders in proportion, kind of like an airdrop. And that's one way to introduce a fee token into the system. Or maybe another proposal will pass where maybe it's a different kind of token, some other name that is just initially a copy of the atom distribution. We don't know. So it'll be exciting to see what governance decides on to do.
Got it. So what can your enthusiastic followers expect as next big move from your side to push the platform forward into the growing industry?
Well, we're launching a testnet called the Game of Stakes. It's an incentivized testnet that will really push the boundaries on simulating attacks and testing the software before we actually launch it live. So that'll be a fun game. We already have 300 signups, but I don't know if everyone will be able to participate, but it'll be a massive testnet. And then soon after that, after about 3 to 4 weeks of testing, we'll have the launch of the Cosmos Hub. So the launch of the Cosmos Hub is what I'm most looking forward to.
Okay. Thank you for sharing. So this is my last question. Do you have anything to share or say anything to the Korean community or Hash community?
Sure. I think that the amount of engineering and design that goes into blockchain, like protocol design and architecture, is extremely interesting. If you're interested in creating, a new system for human coordination, that's ultimately what we're trying to do. We're not just trying to create like a new kind of money or a new kind of financial system, although that's a big part of it. Ultimately, blockchains are about solving large-scale human societal problems that we face today, and that's why I wake up every morning and do this. And we try to put, we try to polish the software so that it's something worthy of creating. Please take a look at what we've created so far, and we need your help. So please help us.
Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you.
Thank you.